Hi, I'm Cindy Graves, your activities director and host of the Shut-Ins Theater series, Meet the Musicians and Music Makers. This series is brought to you courtesy of your Four Seasons HOA. This series is an attempt to help you, our wonderful residents, to feel more connected to our community during this challenging time. With that said, let's get to know your neighbor, resident and musician, Bob Snyder. Thank you so much, Bob, for joining us for our very first episode of Meet the Musicians and Music Makers.
Well,
so,
thank
Bob,
you so much for inviting me.
Yeah. So, Bob, how long have you lived in Four Seasons?
Year and a half, almost 2 years now.
Okay. Well, tell us a little bit about your love of music and how you got started playing.
Well, actually, I lived in the Detroit area, and I was in elementary school, the 5th grade. And I forget the class, but I didn't want to be in that classroom. And just then, a voice came over the PA system announcing, any student that wants to be in band can leave the class and go to the band room. I got up and walked out of the class, went to the band room. And there was the teacher, and he looked at me, he said, what do you want to play? And I said, trombone. I wasn't sure what it was, but it sounded right. and he said, you have a good armature for that. Took me years to find out what the armature was. It's a phase structure. And so I took this instrument home that night, put it together and blew in it. Nothing came out but the same air I put into it. No music, no notes. And I was so disappointed.
Oh, gosh. That's great. I love it. Is there a specific thing that you're known for in the music industry?
Well, I've done a lot of different bands of different genres, you know, the concert bands, the school marching bands, and then in college, your performance groups, the orchestra, and then ultimately a jazz band. And I come to fall in love with Dixieland music, traditional jazz music. And that's what I play mainly.
I love that. What's the most interesting thing about yourself that we might learn from your bio, as diverse as it is?
Well, I've done a lot of things. I had a 22-year career as a detective in law enforcement. Then I went to law school, became an adjunct law professor, and specialized in gambling law. But all this time that music was threading through me, as I had a law office in Glendora, and about a mile away was the community college, and I would keep going there taking classes. Ended up taking 60 classes in music theory and performance, and meanwhile playing in musical groups, and so I'm stuck with it.
All right, so you did the music, you did the law, and then I understand too you even had was it detective work or police work?
Oh yeah, I did a career with LA County. I was a sheriff sergeant and supervisor, and I spent the last 12 years in a vice unit. There's certainly some interesting stories there for another time, but music has always been in my life. And during law school, I didn't do much music because your head's in a book, right? But probably 25 years ago, jumped back into music more seriously, and I still play in several groups, and up until this virus thing.
Oh yeah. So what challenges have you faced in pursuing your musical passion?
Well, you always strive to improve in different areas, but I just find that the foot tapping kind of music is the most fun to play. And when you see an audience dancing or tapping their foot, you know they're enjoying it.
Well, I know you were talking about another challenge that you had at one point was just trying to herd cats.
Oh, well, I was a band leader. And so some years ago, I started what's called a big band, the big swing band, you know, Tommy Dorsey, Glenn Miller kind of band. And so it was an 18-piece band. So to get 18 players or 17 or 18 players to show up is a challenge. You know, you got, in a big band, you got 5 saxes, 4 trombones, 5 trumpets, and you got your rhythm, bass, drum, guitar, and a vocalist. So you have rehearsals, but trying to get these players to show up on time, it's like herding wild cats in the neighborhood, trying to get them all in one group. There's always the last minute phone calls of somebody's not coming in, you're trying to get a sub on the phone. That was the most frustrating part. So I call it cat herding.
That is so funny. Well, when we had our little pre-interview discussion, I didn't know that you actually have to utilize a librarian for getting all of your music together with everything.
Well, particularly in a big band, now you have 18 different players seats. Each has their own part. Each has their own folder of a couple hundred tunes. They're all numbered, and you need someone to organize all that. Yeah. So when you call off 106, they all reach for 106. And it's a number on a song. So you need a librarian to keep all that in order. And it's just a full-time behind the scenes job to do that.
Yeah.
But best to use a librarian.
That's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. Something people don't think about. Now, when we were also having our little pre-interview discussion, you told me a hilarious story about Storyville. Tell us a little bit, goes along with Dixieland, and tell me a little bit about Storyville.
Well, you know, music evolves, and the jazz was invented in America. So it's strictly America genre of music is called jazz. Well, it evolved from the original music was from Europe, and they were playing polkas and waltzes and different, very strict, right on the beat kind of music. And then with the plantations and the slavery, the other music came, and there was some blues and gospel music and something called cakewalks. Well, cakewalks where there'd be competition, and the winner the couple would actually get a cake. It was called a cakewalk. And then there was some other music about the same time, a little later, and it was the first time music was not played strictly on the beat. Instead of 1, 2, 3, if it's a waltz, da 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 da, could have been 4 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3. So it is off the beat or in between the beats. Da 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 do that do that that do that do that do that. Well, it was kind of the raggedy rhythm, and that raggedy rhythm was called raggedy rhythm, and it became known as ragtime. So the time was now ragtime. About that same time, Dixieland jazz, which is a lot of improvisation. In other words, you're not playing just strictly the notes on a piece of paper. You're kind of thinking as you go and making it up as you go. And so that was popular in New Orleans, is where it started, in Louisiana. And there was a section of town called Storyville. It was the red light district, or sporting houses, several blocks of sporting houses. So I guess there are a lot of athletes in the town, because these guys go to these sporting houses. Well, in these sporting houses, there was musicians and players, and they would play the music while the entertainment is in the other rooms. And that was Storyville. About 1921, Storyville, it was legal. It was a legal section, the red light district. About 1921, Storyville was shut down because the military, the servicemen were going there and there were problems and one thing or another. So they closed down Storyville. Now, all these musicians needed somewhere to play. So some went to New York, some went to Chicago, and that's how that music spread across the country, this Dixieland music.
That is so cool. Fascinating history, you little historian.
Well, partly on that. And, you know, it's still music's very big everywhere, but in New Orleans, it's still very big. And in those same times, they had wagons that different clubs and societies would have functions, and they would advertise it on a wagon. And the wagon would have a band on the back, and they would go through town, and you hear this music, you look and you see the banner, and you know what's going on. Well, the band would fit on the wagon, but the trombone with that long slide tubing thing would have to sit on the tailgate of the wagon, and that became known as tailgate style trombone playing, which in Dixieland music, you'll hear a theme, and in the background, you'll hear the trombone kind of answer that theme. And so it's a call and response conversation amongst the musicians in the Dixieland band.
That is so cool. Well, hey, tell us a little bit about the history of the front line and the second line.
Oh,
I think a lot of people have heard of it.
yeah, second line, sure. And New Orleans, almost weather permitting, throughout the year, particularly the Mardi Gras in February, but other events hire a band or a brass band to play right down the marching down the street. And the band itself is the main line, or the first in line.
Okay.
And the audience, or people from the community or invited guests, would get behind that band and march along with the carousels and have a great time. They were second in line, or it became known as the second line. So second line parades are real common still in New Orleans. And the band's playing, and everyone behind them could be 1,000 people. That's the second line.
That's so neat.
Yeah.
So tell us, who were your music role models or mentors?
Well, because I like that genre of music, you know, some of the first trombone, originally there was the New Orleans Rhythm Kings, the original New Orleans jazz band. And then some of the individuals were Kid Ory, trombone player, Jack Teagarden, another trombone player, and they had that Dixieland bands. Dixieland band typically is about 7 members in size. Could be 5, could be 8, but 7 is most common. In the front of the Dixieland band, closest to you, the audience, you have a trumpet, trombone, clarinet, or perhaps some other saxophone reed instrument. So you have 3 in front, 4 rhythm in the back. The rhythm is the bass or tuba, guitar, banjo sometimes, and a keyboard, piano player. And they're all just playing off each other. There's a main theme, but when they're listening, and they get the nod, they do their solo. And yeah,
that's cool. Yeah, do you have any embarrassing moments since you've been in showbiz with your Dixieland band stuff?
Well, I don't know about embarrassing. Some go better than others, depending on the venue. You know, I've learned that certain genres of music attract a certain audience, of course. When I had the big band, you know, they were playing 1940s, 50s swing music, and the audience that likes that tend to be older with gray hair. So all these gray-haired audience would come in. And some young people now are swing dancing. And then when I started doing Dixieland, well, it's the same gray-haired people, but now they have gray hair plus their oxygen tank. Over the crowd. But it's a fun kind of dance. Dixieland music has to be danceable music. It's just fun, crazy.
That is so neat. So do you have any advice for Four Seasons residents that might want to explore pursuing their own love of music?
Oh, sure. I think if they want to take up music, they should do it. Maybe 20 years ago, I tried to get my wife interested in clarinet, and she goes, "No, I don't want to play it. It would take me too long to learn how to play." Well, 20 years have gone by, and she still can't play because she never stuck to it. And when you think, you know, I don't care if it's a harmonica or a banjo, that's a good one to start on. There's only 4 strings. Just do it. And if you want to hear it, and go on YouTube and type in Dixieland or banjo music, whatever it is, and just do it, because 5 years are going to go by, and in 5 years you'll be having fun.
That is so great. Great advice. So would you do us a favor and play us a song and tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, let me tell you a little more about this Dixieland thing, and then
Okay.
I'll do a demonstration for you.
Okay.
In about 1922, after the brothels closed, there was a young second cornet player in the band. If there's 2 instruments, one plays lead and the other duplicate instrument plays the second part. Well, there was a second cornet player invited to go to Chicago to the Royal Gardens and join King Oliver, Joe King Oliver's jazz band. And that second cornet player went up there, and his name was Louis Armstrong. And he met Lil, the piano player, and he played at this Royal Gardens Hall. And in fact, if you just imagine going into let me show you what that band looked like. I don't know if you can
All right.
see this. Can you see that photo?
Oh, yeah.
The
Oh, wow.
There's 1922. That's King Oliver's Creole jazz band. From your left, the 4th young person.
Yep.
That's Louis Armstrong.
Oh my gosh.
And here's the gal he married, Lil, on the piano.
Oh my gosh. That is a gorgeous photo.
Yes. And it was Lil that convinced Louis Armstrong he could make it on his own. Of course, we know he did. And if you can imagine going into that hall, where the hall was so big it could hold 1,000 dancers. And I'm going to play you a segment of what you would hear going into that hall.
Okay. Thank you.
This is that band in 1922.
Crank it up. See if you can get it even any louder. Does it?
Sure. Well, maybe not.
Good.
Well, you get the idea of it.
Yeah.
So in Dixieland, I'm going to tell you a song, and I'm going to play a segment for you.
Okay.
But it's called St. James Infirmary, made famous by Louis Armstrong in the 1920s, about 1925. And it's a song about a cafe in the center of town, and the crowd's there, and the drinks are being served as usual. And there's old Joe McKinney with bloodshot eyes. So when I asked him what the problem was, here's what he told me. I went down to St. James Infirmary, saw my baby there, stretched out on a long white table, so cold, so sweet, so fair. Let her go, God bless her, wherever she may be. She'll search this whole wide world over and never find a man like me. And then it continues. 6 pallbearers went to the cemetery. There were 7 that left for there, but only 6 returned, and etc. So here's what the melody sounds like. I'll give you a second.
Okay.
In this tearjerker. Now, because it's jazz, you could take that same thing and make it improvise with it, and it probably might sound like this.
Awesome.
So you can make it sad like the story, or you can pep it up and
Jazz it up and make
Yeah.
your toe tap.
right, exactly.
Oh, I love it. Well, Bob, I can't thank you enough for spending time with us and letting your neighbors get a minute to get to know you a little bit better. And, you know, you are, along with so many of our talented residents, the real assets of Four Seasons.
Well,
So-
thank you, and I hope everyone enjoys it. I look forward to seeing you a few months down from the line here.
Yay! We look forward to it, and hopefully we can resurrect our Mardi Gras again and have your Dixieland band play for us in full force.
Would enjoy that. Thank you.
All right. Thank you again, Bob. Sure appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
Bye.